Okay, so Melanie, take me back 6 to 12 months. What was some of the series of moments that served as your trigger points to make a change and start this journey?
If we're talking 6 to 12 months, I mean, this is lifetime, right? But the last 6 to 12 months, I think it was realizing I tried everything, keto, paleo, Atkins, heavy lifting, high reps, low reps. I've tried it all. I've been with trainers. I've been with the best in the country, as trainers and programs. And I did the Whole30 finally in the beginning of the year. And I lost a lot of weight. I'm doing the Whole30. I don't know if you know what it is, but basically it's like whole foods. You just eat like whole foods. You rip out pretty much everything that's not processed. And you have very little anything else, very little fruit, very, very little everything else. It's a very tight diet for a month, 30 days. And I lost weight. Yes. And then a week later, that weight came right back. And, I was like, I've done this before. I've done this a million times. The weight comes off, it comes right back on. I was like, that's it. I'm at that point, I was approaching 40, 43. And I was like, that's it. I need to get this straight. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been trying everything. I either give it one like last go, or I just stop focusing my whole life on fitness and getting the body I want, the body I feel good in. So I started just being like, oh, maybe I'll just, I really like fruit and vegetables. I learned that through the Whole40. Like I'm a Whole30. I was like, I really like it. Maybe I'll get into making more healthy foods. And so let me look at some Instagram posts. And that's when I found, oh my God, I just lost his name. Dr. Iron, is it Iron Junkie? Yeah. That's where I fell into him with his acai bowls. And I was like, he posted all these acai bowls that I was falling in love with. And I was like, oh my God, these are so great. And I looked and I was like, he's shredded. Like, he's a doctor and he looks, because honestly, a lot of doctors aren't healthy. A lot of doctors in the US that you go to, they're outside like smoking cigarettes. They're out, they don't know much about nutrition. They're not taught that. That's not their fault. They're just not taught nutrition. They don't take care of their bodies the way I would expect a doctor to be honest. So when I saw this, and for me, it didn't match. I'm like, wow, he's shredded and he loves this great food and he's a vegan. And then that led me to you in the RNT program. And that's how I just fell upon it. And then I saw you and I was like, vegan shredded fat. Yeah. Okay. Let me look at this guy. And I was like, and I saw your training and I was like, oh, he trains like I believe in, like the progressive overload, and he's pushing it. And, and I'm seeing your podcasts and your articles and I'm like, this is like up my alley. Like, I like this guy. I like what he's doing. And so I sent it to a bunch of my personal trainer friends here in the US that I kind of listen to a lot. And they're like, no, this sounds like a good program. Like, honestly, I think you should give it a go. It sounds good. I'm like, it's a lot of money. They're like, no, Melanie, if you think about it, you're getting a lot for that monthly payment. If you break it over 12 months, you're not getting just the fat loss, getting you to that bikini or that photo shoot. You're also getting all the stuff that matters afterwards, So talking that out. And then I was like, all right, that's it.
Wow.
I'm doing it. And that's how
I had no idea. I was actually going to ask you after we got off air. I was like, how did you come across us in the first place? And I didn't realize it was through literally, you saw the acai bowl. Is that what you saw an acai bowl?
Yeah, I saw an acai. Yeah. That's why I wanted to start making them at home.
How crazy is that?
Dr. Iron Junkie, is that his name?
Yeah, so he's one of my best friends, Minil Patel.
Yes. And I've seen pictures of you two together, and I'm taking screenshots, and I'm like, no, look at that.
Yeah.
So we total random.
So we've known each other for 20 years. We went to school together. We started training together. He was my guinea pig for many years. So when he got shredded in 2019, his picture that was with us.
Yes,
and he was only over a couple of days ago. And I was telling him actually, stop posting these damn bowls. But maybe I should get to post more of them.
No, it got me like that. Like I was like, damn, those are good. Like, and I was like, he's not making these. You know what I mean? Like, but whatever. And then I saw a video of you two training together once.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, just the way they are, their intensity and everything. Like I know this is hard work. It isn't fake. You know what I mean? Like, I know that's mature muscle they're putting on. That was years of work that they're doing, and they're doing the diet, and they have the mindset, and they're doing so much more just going to see a personal trainer and have them work you out for an hour, So, and the really thing that blew my mind is all the education you guys give, like not just the little 2-minute videos, which are super helpful, but the art, like all of the things you can search for in the libraries and teaching us about protein and, metabolism and even, going to the bathroom and how that is, you know what I mean? Like you touch it all. So for me, it was just, wow. It was a program I'd never seen.
One thing you said was, you said last 6 to 12 months, that was the reason. You know, you tried loads of things. You were already trying loads of things last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
But you said this is actually a lifetime thing. You want to
Lifetime.
circle it back. So it sounds like this
Yeah.
wasn't the trigger. This was more like you'd already had your trigger. You were just finding, and then you found
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
take us back in time now.
sure. So,
When did it begin?
so I think I've always was self-conscious about my body since a very little girl. I was always a chubby girl. I was the girl, you know, I'm short and 4'11", and always had a woman's body at a very young age. So I had hips, I had a butt, I had boobs when none of my friends did. So I always felt the difference, that I didn't fit in. I wasn't normal like everybody else. And then as I got older, that snowballed into me eating alone, me eating more, me going to food for comfort, me staying away from people and I just felt different, right? So body image was the first issue. Fast forward to, you know, gaining weight, and I got up to about 165 at 4'11", which is a pretty big number. And I met a guy on a dating app, and we met in person, and he hugged me, and I felt all his abs through his shirt. And I was like, why would you, you know, beautiful physique with me, a little chubby girl. And then I started realizing, like, he wasn't doing it for anyone else. He was eating healthy. He was training smart, just like you. He was, you know, he cared about like organic food and clean food. He was going vegetarian at the time. It was just meeting him brought up to all this stuff. Like, I started comparing what I was eating and me sitting on a couch and me not doing anything to what he was doing. And he never asked me to do anything. It was just watching him and being like, oh, like, he's healthy. He doesn't, you know, he's not worried about what he's eating. Like, he's not like, there's something here. There's something I can learn from him. And that's what really triggered me to start just eating right. That was the first piece. I didn't start hitting the gym until I lost the majority of the weight, actually. But I never got lean. I still had fat. I've never gotten lean like I did with you guys. Like, it was always, you know, I slimmed down, but I still felt like there's a place I want to go, a place where I'll feel good in my skin, a place where I'll feel good naked. You know, when I can look in the mirror and not cringe. That's where I wanted to be. And I was never able to get there.
How did you feel when you looked in the mirror?
Back then or now?
Back then.
I didn't. I avoided it at all costs. I would get out of the shower and cover myself with a towel right away. And even though I knew people found me attractive, I didn't have a problem with dates. I didn't have a problem with guys being attracted to me. I wasn't attracted to me. It had nothing to do with that. That wasn't the issue. It was more of, I didn't feel good. I didn't like what it looked like. I didn't like what it felt like. I didn't like that when I did stairs, I got exhausted, you know, from a flight of stairs. You know what I mean? There was many things that didn't feel good. I felt heavy. So, yeah.
And what was your, like, something's got to change now? Because you said you were around this guy, you're watching him, but, you know, you were making some changes. But when was it like, right, I've got to change everything?
It was affecting my friendships. And so I didn't have many friends. I only had guys I dated, right? Those are my only friends. I pushed away everybody else because I didn't want to be in any situation where I had to be in a bathing suit or short shorts or go camping and anyone see me like undressed. I was very afraid of those. So I pushed all my friends away. I kept away. I had friends, but kept them arm's length. And then I realized when I was with him, I made that relationship my world, and I needed to make friends. I needed to get comfortable. I needed to change something there. I couldn't make this relationship everything and not have anybody else outside of it. You know, I wanted friends. I wanted fun. I wanted to live my life and not worry about this all the time, every day, waking up, going to sleep. So something just was like, all right, well, the only way I can do that is start with me. I got to start with feeling good in this body, whatever that is. So I think that was probably the biggest thing for me.
How did you feel with regards to taking action and the actual process around it? Because obviously the first few times you took action, you ended up just rebounding in. Did you start to feel like you're losing hope? Did you start to feel like it wasn't possible for you? Or did you always have a sense of where you wanted to get to?
I always knew where I wanted to get to, but I thought it wasn't possible. I thought because of genetics or metabolism or age or whatever reason anyone could throw at me, or I could throw at myself, that maybe I could stay small. I was able to lose the weight back when I was 27 and keep it off majority, but I never got the shape, physique, the look I wanted, right? I weighed less, right? But I didn't look much better than I did when I was heavy in my eyes. So I think that's a mind mind game anyway. But I think I thought I would never be able to hit where I did the checkpoint. No way. I really was hoping for it. Like, but I think in the back of my head, I was like, I'm too old. Like, I'm too old. My body doesn't want to go there.
Okay, so you had this clear picture of where you wanted to get to. And when you came across us after seeing some acai bowls, and then you explored the education, you saw this was the right place. What was your biggest skepticism at that point before starting?
It's just another program. It's just another before and after pictures that they were able to make look like it was good. You know what I mean? But the one thing I can say that I noticed about your before and afters for your clients is they seemed real. It still showed the loose skin. That's real. Like we have that. It wasn't cut out. You know what I mean? Like, I think these are realistic pictures of huge changes that are beautiful, but it also showed that like, we're still not perfect, right? We're still not, we're still people. We're still going to have that. If you do lose a lot of weight, you do have loose skin. It all of a sudden just doesn't tighten up. Like when you lose that much, I can attest to that. Right. So for me, but that was it. It was just, oh, this is another program that's going to promise me the world. And, you know, whatever. It's probably not going to get me the results I want, but whatever. This is my last push. I'm going to try and, you know, see what happens.
So you started, you gave it the last push, and you started, you know, implementing the RNT methodology into your day-to-day life. How was that process compared to what you did before in terms of, was it a big overhaul? Was it a challenging start? Was it easy? How did you find the beginning of the process?
It was challenging in the fact that I had to trust people that I don't know virtually. Trust that they knew where I wanted to go, trust that they knew what they were talking about. There was a lot of trust issues I had for myself because I didn't trust previous programs and coaches. And I think I sent Chloe a list of everybody I've been through. And it's not because they weren't great, to be honest. I think it was my head wasn't in the game, or I didn't, a lot of it falls on me when I look right in retrospect, right? So I think in the first part was the challenge for me was trusting that, like, listen, you have to eat more food, you know, or, you know, just trust us, just get the steps in, you know what I mean? Like and I had such a big issue that I was like fighting, you know, I was through email. I'm like, you know, complaining about it to you guys. Like, I don't, you know, but I think I just had to, once I gave myself up and trusted, things got a lot easier mentally for me. That mental block was gone. I was like, okay, just listen to them, just do what they say. Okay, they're putting carbs in, you're not supposed to eat carbs. Like you haven't had bread in how many years? Like not every day, like maybe once a month you'll have bread. Like I was so strict the other way. I was chicken broccoli. I was the girl that went to a club and brought a bowl of chicken and broccoli with me. I was the girl that went to an event and bought a protein shake with me. People eating nachos and I'm eating like cold food out of my purse. You know, so when you guys told me like, oh, no, you can have bread, you can have, you know, oh yeah, make sure you have sweet potato or, you know, rice or whatever. I was like, oh no, they're getting me fat. Like, and then I just said, I'm going to trust it. And I did it. And then when all the weight started coming off, I'm like, oh my God, they know what they're doing. Like, oh my God. And I get to eat bread. Like, what is happening here? It's like magic. Like, so it blew my mind. Wow. And then I also like the way you guys really pushed nutrition first. Like, forget about the work. Like, if you're going to do things in order, like water, walk, nutrition, then let's worry about work, lifting, and cardio last. Like, there was definitely an order of events that I found important that you drilled it in, because I wouldn't have done it in that way. I'm like, yeah, I know I drink more water. I know I have to go for 10,000 steps. Like, yeah, whatever. But I think that was really the process that I loved, was the steps, but it was also hard to do. Like, it's like, okay, I have to do my steps, I have to do my water, I have to go to the gym, I have to log stuff, I have to read, so in the beginning it was a lot. But I think that gave me the foundation I needed to keep going. You know, you were building. And I didn't see that. Like, only in retrospect, you see it's building. In the first couple of weeks, you're like, this is so much, it's too much. Like, what? And then you're like, oh, now I get why they did that. All right, that they're smart. They tricked me into that. I get what, you know what I mean? Like, there were some things you guys would say, like, you were very good with, like, you were talking about chewing the food. Like, what do you call it? You call it
meal hygiene.
Meal hygiene, right? And I think I said this to you before. You were talking about this and I was like, how am I going to do that? I shove it in my mouth, right? I'm like, I'm going to eat, I'm hungry, right? And then so I got chopsticks to slow me down because I don't know how to use them. Okay. And that helped me. But I also felt what you were talking about, like I felt fuller. I put them down. I had to figure it out. So it built that in me. And I was like, oh, now I get why he was saying that. And I'm feeling fuller. I'm not eating so quick. And so those things, just every little trick and tip just added on. And then the more I added these tips and tricks, the more I saw the change in my body. And the more it was easier. It became second nature. It was like, yeah, water. I drink water all day. Like, yeah, I of course do 10,000 steps. I'm up to 12 without even looking. Like, now it's normal life.
Two follow-ups on that. First one is, what was your sort of daily schedule that you built for yourself to allow you to hit 10,000 steps without even thinking? And the second thing, potentially the first one, is how did you, what was effectively the surrender experience or moment for you? Because I think a lot of people are very resistant to coaching and very resistant to wanting to embrace a new way and wanting to be vulnerable, wanting to accept that they don't actually know what they're doing, or they don't actually, what they've done in the past doesn't work, and they need to try something new. And the only way really to get it is to go all in. But with that comes fear of, I don't know if it's going to work, or fear, I don't think they're right. Describe that experience, because I think that's really useful for people to listen to at different stages of the journey, because I think it's one of the biggest reasons that holds them back from achieving their true potential.
Yeah. The first thing, the steps, I think a lot of people are talking about, like, I can't get in the steps. And I was like, I can get it in. I can go do 10,000 steps. I can wake up. I'm a all-in mentality where I'm like, I'll wake up 3 hours earlier and get those 10,000, but that's not sustainable. Right. So I started doing walks with my dog right before I went to the gym. So I'd make sure that she got, not crazy, just some steps in before I went to the gym. And then I would make sure I would get up and take a break, from work, and walk her again, or go to a mailbox, or do a task like, oh, I have to go drop off dry cleaning. I'm going to walk there instead. Or even if I had to drive there, I would drive farthest away and get some steps in to get to that front door and back. I just made it a priority. And even if it was only a couple of steps at a time, that I would get them in. And then it became a game. It was like, oh, I'm only at 8,000. I get 2,000. Like, I'm going to get those in. And I kind of challenged myself. So I would, constantly look and make sure, like, okay, no, I'm going to hit 10K. Like, I'm going to do it. So let me figure out a way I can do that. So it became fun at a point, or a challenge that I liked, different than my PRs at the gym.
And what about nutrition? Like, how did you bring all of it together? Because it's not just steps, like the nutrition, the tracking, posting in your cohort, checking in, etc. You can sometimes feel like, oh wow, I've got so much to do. How do I fit this in?
Yeah,
so some of the other things to do.
Yeah, I didn't excel at everything. You know what I mean? Like, there was days where I was really good in the cohort, and days when I was really bad with the drinking, and there was days I was really good at walking, and maybe I pulled back on something else. Like in the beginning, right? It was trying to figure that out. And even now, life gets in the way, right? And you're like, I'm not great at everything, but the majority of the time I made it work. And I think the nutrition part I learned early on is that I have to use nutrition as fuel for my workouts and for my walks and my brain. And you know what I mean? It's not to always taste good, or it doesn't have to be like luxurious meal every time I'm eating something, breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? Like, there's just sometimes you have to be like, listen, it's just food. It just needs to fuel me. And it can't always be the most tasty thing, especially in fat loss, right? So I learned to cut corners in ways like buying pre-made chicken, right? I don't have time to always cook. Life gets crazy. I'm traveling, whatever it is. And I would go somewhere where I knew that the pre-made chicken didn't have lots of oils on it and stuff like that. They made it very simple, doesn't taste the best, throw some hot sauce on it. At least I'm doing that, right? So I got really good at getting prepped stuff for the days I couldn't prep, or I knew it would be too overwhelming. And I wanted more focus to be on sticking to my diet than eating tasty foods. So like bags of vegetables, right? That I could just eat raw instead of, trying to saute them and make them great. So I think that was one of the best things I chose to do.
Amazing. I think it'll be really useful for people who are struggling with that overwhelm factor. In that you don't need to be perfect from day one, but you do need to be focused on stacking those wins.
Yeah. And I think, the hardest thing for all of us to challenge ourselves for, especially people that love their food, is that just for the at least the fat loss phase, if you can just say, not all my meals are going to taste amazing. They're just going to get me to this point I've been wanting and I really want to go to, and kind of getting over that, being able to give up a little bit. I think that's important because I think when we try to make things very tasty and have all these recipes and do all these things, it's a lot of time and energy, and you have very little energy when you get closer to your checkpoint, right? You have very little energy to expend. You're just like, just whatever, I'll eat it out of a can. Like, just, you know. And I think the closer you get, and it's hump, I think getting past the hump of the first, when you're getting close to checkpoint and you start seeing your abs and you start seeing your body change, that alone fuels you to be tougher. You know, you're like, all right, I'm going to, you know what I mean? I think it's that beginning stage where you don't see it. You can't see, right, what's about to happen. You're fearful. I was fearful. I was like, they don't know they're talking about. They're telling me to do this. I'm going to get fat. I'm in my head. I'm texting my friends like, what if, you know, I just spent this money and did this whole thing and it, you know, it's not going to go right and I don't know what to do. And then I just had to sit with the feelings and be like, you know what? What's the worst that happens? I've been through this before. What's the worst that happens? I try something and it fails, but at least let me try. Let me just say I tried. You know, other people have done it successfully. I see that. I see them talking on the cohort. You know, I see people that have passed where I have been, and you know, what makes them any different? I can do it too. And I think I had to keep telling myself that.
Was that the surrender moment?
For sure. For sure. It was just basically, just do it. Just give in. Just do whatever they say. They want you to do 6 cardio sessions, do 6 cardio sessions. They want, you know, I mean, you've had it pretty good up to now, right? I mean, I got to tell you, the program up until 2-3 weeks out from checkpoint, I've done way worse. Like this is, you guys have it pretty good. You have it pretty good. You know, I want, you know, I hear like thinking back now, people like, I'm eating too much food. I'm like, I hate you. I want food. Like what? You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, I think when you're in it, everything seems so tough. But when you look back, you're like, actually, that wasn't that bad. You know, it was, you know, it was doable. The program's doable. That's what's crazy about it. And I tell my friends, I'm like, I can't, I don't know. It's like magic. It works. And it sounds crazy. I sound like an infomercial, but I don't know how, because I've done this before. I've eaten right. I've had the chicken and broccoli, but I think the biggest thing was like the mind part of it. You guys do a lot on mind, like mindset and the way you think, and having an unhealthy relationship with the way we view ourselves and food. And, you know, the goal isn't to just get to checkpoint. The goal is to get to a lifestyle where you can enjoy life and family and friends and the food that you like and still be healthy.
Did you have any reservations around it being virtual? Because I think you said earlier on, you'd only tried everything in person, right? Was there big reservations about doing?
I've done both. I've done in person and virtual. When I followed, like, I did a few programs like Lane Norton's program and stuff like that, where he was my coach, but virtually like you are with me. And it was mostly nutrition, not like some training and something like that. And I found it very hard to do. So I think I did have reservations. I think I'm used to having somebody there or somebody I can talk to and be like, hey, like, you know, this isn't working out, or, you know, like one-on-one FaceTime, you know, thing. But the thing that you guys do great is not only the calls, but the cohort, the people with me in it. There's people beside, like my cohort with Janet and Amy and all these people on my, you know, I have a bunch of women in my cohort that are just pushing me and pulling me along and sharing their stuff. And I don't feel alone. I don't feel like it's virtual. You know, but it was a concern. And virtual is to everybody. Right now we're working virtually, but that's working. I work better virtually than I do in an office. So why couldn't I do this better than I did in one-on-one, right? So that's kind of how I was seeing it after a while.
How did you find the cohort model and experiencing something like that and leaning on it and benefiting from it and really maximizing your journey with it? Because I think you're someone who's really great evidence of what can be done when you really lean into the cohort.
It was hard for me because I've been doing this alone. I met that guy 15 years ago when we broke up, right? And then since then, I've been in the gym alone. I've been doing 2-a-days alone. I've been eating very little carbs and starving myself crazy for years alone. No one's watched my form. No one's been there. It's just been me against myself. I have a notebook. I have years of notebooks of my weights and my, you know, everything, you know, that I look back to, but no one there. So for me to lean on a bunch of people, a bunch of strangers, and then like having to talk, it was awkward. I wasn't used to it. Like I even posted this like last week, like, hey guys, like I've been alone in this for so long that it's really hard for me to like use them or talk to them, or I can help them out, but I'm not used to getting the help myself, right? Like I can give all the advice, I can tell you what I think, but getting it, but it's been huge. I'm not alone anymore, right? Like, it's not just, there's other people going through it. There's not even just my cohort, but on the calls, right? So it's men, women, all ages, groups, sizes, different things, really hard jobs, and have kids and going through divorces. And, you're hearing all this stuff, and it makes you realize, like, oh, we're all going through our own thing, but we're all doing it, moving forward together. And, people are feeling the same about their body and the way they eat, and they're feeling guilt, and they're falling backwards, but then we're pushing them forward. Right. Like, so and it keeps you accountable, having my coach being like, hey, Melanie, where you at? I haven't heard from you all week. And I'd be like, damn it. I ate a burger. Just being called out, and like having somebody check up on me, and somebody that is knowledgeable. So I have the knowledge person there, in this cohort, and then I have a bunch of people that are all learning together and having silly questions or awkward questions, or I haven't got my period, like personal things. It's just it's such a great. I love that model. Amazing. I wouldn't have said I would.
Yeah. Amazing. What did you learn about yourself during the grind that you're going to implement now in your life?
That is so much. And I'm still discovering things. Writing my testimonial out last night to Chloe, or yesterday, a lot of things surfaced I didn't even realize that I was going through, or reasons why. So there's just we could talk all day. I think during the grind, I realized that even though I said I wanted my life to be this well-balanced, healthy thing, like where I'm able to go out and eat what I want, but still, be this way, and I'm saying all of that, I still was stuck in like, oh, I can't, if I go out and have a drink, I'm getting like, I just took 2 steps back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though I was looking forward to the checkpoint when I was in the grind, and I was like, oh, I can eat, I'm gonna be able to eat, I think I learned that mentally my brain was still stuck. It was still negative, and it was still thinking it was going to keep going with these years of starving myself without even, I know I was starving myself. I just, the way I was eating and overtraining and not living my life, not enjoying friends and family and going out on vacations. And so I think during that period when I was training hard and eating very low calories, I was getting leaner and leaner and leaner. And I was getting the body I've never seen ever. I've never seen the body I got during the grind. I was still unhappy, and I was still freaking out, and I was still, something wasn't right, And so I think during the grind, that's why I was figuring out, like, wow, they got me here. They did their part. There's something on my part I have to, like, there's something here that I have to do too, to make this journey forward after checkpoint. Right. So I know it's not the typical thing you find out during the grind, but that was what I came up with.
Yeah, it's a big one. And where do you think, like, where do you think some of the key areas in your life are to work on, and where do you think it's come from?
I think trying to get this body that I think is going to make me happy I think that comes from a bunch of things, right? Childhood, social media, thinking that if you get this body, somehow you're going to become this person, or now people will treat you differently or look at you differently, or I don't know where that all comes. I think it's a bunch of things, right? As I think there's just a lot of social pressure and just pressure you put on yourself. And I'm, a perfectionist to start with, right? So I think there's a lot of things that make me feel like that put my head in that bad space. I wish I had answers, right? Like right now I'm still working through it all, right? I'm still working on how I'm going to do that and how I'm going to get past it, and where it kind of stems from, so I can work backwards. I'm like, okay, why do I still feel like that? But I think I have a good handle. The thing I'm learning through my coaches is the goal here is to be comfortable in my skin and be healthy and enjoy life. And that's my goal. That's my why, and I have to align with that more. And so, and I apologize, I'm all over the place because I'm thinking while you're talking to me, I have like 500 things blinking in my head, like, and this, and this, and this, and which one to share, because it's a lot.
Which ones comes top of your mind?
I think the biggest thing that keeps popping in my mind is from childhood feeling this way. It's something that's deep within me that a program can't fix, right? You can give me all the tools, you can give me all the education, you can, give me all the wisdom. But there's just things I think within each one of us that might be a little different, but that we have to work on ourselves. And it's always going to be a work on thing, right? So my hope is through consolidation and moving forward with you guys, that I'll be working on that while I'm staying the course, right? Because maybe staying the course is easy for me now. Like maybe I can lift, I can do cardio, I can eat right, I can be all of that. But maybe the biggest part for me is allowing myself to accept I got really far and I got to the point I wanted to, and I'm there and I'm in that body, and realize it, open my eyes and see what everybody else is seeing.
And one of the best ways to keep exploring that is going to be not going back to previous crutches. So now there'd have been many things you've created crutches for.
Yep.
From childhood, from whenever.
Yep.
Now the opportunity is to build a lifestyle solution around no crutches.
Yep.
And in creating the lifestyle solution, you will naturally resolve a lot of these things because you'd have stayed away from those crutches that normally, now that you don't have the prize of getting into shape, you would have just used to press down on.
Yeah.
So there's a really good opportunity now where you've got the energy, you've got a lot of food in your system, you've got performance goals. There's an opportunity now to really work on the mind that you wouldn't have had potentially during the grind, where it's just like, let's get through this. And this is why I think the gap is bridged between getting in shape and staying in shape, because getting in shape is physical, staying in shape is mental.
And that's the hard, like I was telling somebody at the gym today, it's funny how I'm looking at the pictures to my checkpoint and people are going nuts. Like, oh my God, that's great that I got there. But the aftermath is the harder part. The after you hit that high, that peak. And then that's what I'm having the trouble with. But I think it's great trouble. Like, I think it's something I need, right? Like, I think I need to go through this to really correct the deep stuff, like you're saying. And I think you're right. I went on a vacation as a celebration for myself. I went to Maui for the first time. I went to Hawaii right after my checkpoint. And I haven't worn a bathing suit, a bikini, since I was little. And I stayed away from it. I wouldn't go out, do things. I wouldn't go up to public. I wouldn't go to the beach, just because I didn't want to put a bikini on. And I got 5 bikinis for this trip. And I went out to the beach and I wore my bikini and I wasn't covered up and I didn't have a cover up and and it was huge for me to do that. And I could have stayed away, right? Like, nobody was there to say, like, you should be in a bikini or you should show that body off. I needed to feel uncomfortable, and it was awkward and uncomfortable. But I think I didn't hide anymore, which was a crutch. I could hide at home. I could hide with my food, and I could feel bad about myself by myself with my food and nobody would know. And now I made it a big thing. I was like, I told everybody, I'm going to Maui. I'm getting these bathing suits. I sent pictures of my bathing suits to my friends. Like, hey, of me in the bathing suit. Like, oh, what do you think? Like, just to make it my accountability. And that was something you guys were talking about, like the photo shoot being an accountability thing. Like, I had to do that photo shoot in front of my 2 best friends. They were taking the photos.
Wow.
Which is really uncomfortable, right? Like, to open myself up to, it's almost harder to do in front of your friends than it is to, like, Instagram for me. So those things were pulling away, my wanting to hide and my crutches, and putting me out there on full blast and being like, oh, well, you told everybody and you did this, you made this date and you have to do it now. So
if you don't mind me asking, what comes top of mind when you think of a childhood memory that you feel is responsible, or you connect to how you feel now, or the battle you're trying to face?
Yes, I hate to make my sister, who might be listening to this when this goes live, feel bad, but I remember being little and she was always the thin, taller one, long, beautiful black hair, and I was a short, little, stocky one, and I would wear her clothes sometimes. And she said she was yelling at me one day because I stretch out all her clothes. And that's the first memory I can remember feeling that, like, oh, I stretch them out because I have rolls. I'm stretching out her sweater because I have I had boobs and I had rolls in my stomach, and I had wide hips, so I was stretching out her shorts. She didn't want me to wear her shorts either. And that's the first memory where I realized I'm different than even my own family. I don't fit in here either. Right? Like, there's something different with me, and I'm obviously bigger than I should be, right? So that's not a true story, right? That's just that's what was feeding in my head at the time.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yep.
Well, how old are you?
I probably 8 or 9.
Wow.
I was young. I think she was probably like 11 or 12 at that time, maybe a little older, but I was around that 10 years old mark.
Have you spoken to her about it since?
Never mentioned it. Never mentioned to any of them. No. I'm not open like that. Like that stuff I tend to keep to myself. I don't think I've ever even said that story out to anyone in my life. I think you're the first person I've said that out loud to. Yeah.
That's probably a big step in itself.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a good conversation to have.
I know.
I don't know if you've heard me talk about parental expectations leading my perception has always been my parents expect me to work extremely hard, like they did when they were immigrants and had nothing. So I grew up around that. So I thought they were in a survival mindset. So I need to have that survival mindset and burn myself to the ground in the same way they did. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with them and they were like, okay, we just always wanted you to be happy. And I was like, huh.
Yeah. Imagine that. You're like, really,
it freed me from like 10, 15 years of just work hard. Like, but to the point where it's not even productive anymore. It's just torture, really. And it was only when I had the conversation that it really helped. So I wonder, I don't know if it will, but I wonder if there's something to be said for having a conversation with your sister, with your family.
I'm sure it is. And I honestly, I really think it would help me and them understand me, because they think, you're always moving, you're working out, you're always, whenever I go to visit them, I'm always make sure there's gym nearby I can go to. Like, it's always important I get a workout in and I have my food with me, and like for them to understand where it all comes from. I think that would be a good way for them to see me and to let it go for me. So like a twofold. And now that I have nieces that are getting to my age when I felt like that and they're feeling those feelings, I know they are, it might be a good conversation to have with my family just to stop them from becoming what I ended up being for the next 20 years. Not that it's terrible, but that mindset really ate up a lot of my headspace that could have been used having fun, going out with friends, experiencing lakes and rivers and skinny dipping, right? Like things I would never do, right? So I don't want them to live that agony in their head. Mm-hmm. So it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Yeah.
How's the physical being the vehicle for you?
I think, like I said, I think getting my body to finally be in the place where I'm like, I'm proud. Like I see it now. I see what I can do. I got there. I'm healthy. I'm eating right. I'm drinking water. I'm working out. I'm walking a lot. I'm doing everything I can, eating fruits and vegetables and healthy foods, and I care about what's going in. I think all of that gets me right for relationships, friendships, helping my friends and family get on a healthy path too, right? Like being knowledgeable for them, right? Something that they might not have time to do or don't care to do, whatever that is. Just being more confident in myself, in my capabilities, that I was able to push through, that I was able to do all this and juggle all of this. It makes me stronger in work, right? Like I know I can take on a lot. I know I can grind through things. I know if I can do this, I can, give me another project. Sure. Like I can take on that, right? I think it builds that confidence in me that I think everyone's failing. Even dating has been great. I think there's a lot of, I hold myself better. I'm more confident in my answers are what I want and what my needs are. And so I think it just trickles down.
Amazing. If you're speaking to someone early on in the journey right now, what advice would you give them?
Listen to your coaches, lean on the cohort, and just stick with it. If you can just stick with those first few months, the first 2 months, even, I think if you can apply yourself, that's the biggest thing. It's like anything, right? You have to stay consistent. It's the consistency that gets you there. It's not I'm here one day, I'm gone for 3 weeks, I come back and I don't have the body I have. I'm supposed to, that's not you guys' fault, right? So I think the minute I trusted the coaches and I just went with it, I saw those numbers drop. I saw that body pictures week over week get tighter and tighter. I saw, muscles. I saw veins in my chest that I've never, you know what I mean? Like things, right? The more I gave in and the more I listened, the more I learned, the more I leaned, the better it was and the easier it was.
Listen, learn, and lean.
Yeah.
I have to make a note of that one. Brilliant. What's next for you, Melanie?
Short term, I'm gonna run my first 5K. I've never been a runner at all. I've attempted jog sometimes, but I've never been able to, I always had a walk jog, like walk 30 seconds, jog 30 seconds. Yep. And I think because of all the, at the end, when we wanted to get me really shredded, we were doing so much cardio, like long duration cardio sessions, that I went for my first attempt to try to run on Saturday, and I ran 3.1 miles unbroken without stopping ever. So I've never made it more than 2 miles. So that was huge. My first time out, I did a 5K on my own first time out without even trying. So so it was a huge thing for me to have that endurance, because I've never been an endurance person. That's why I like lifting heavy and having long breaks between. But yeah, that is a goal, one of my goals. Other ones are like handstand walks. Like I like the physical stuff, so I'm really into hey, I want to do that. I'm getting weighted pull-ups. I've been able to do like 2 at 45 pounds back in the day when I was yeah.
And you can do that now. You got
no. Right now I can do probably like 5 at 10 pounds around my waist.
Wow. Okay.
It took me years to get pull-ups. Everybody who's listening, especially for you women, it took me years to get the lats to pull. It was a lot of negatives, a lot of pull downs. But once I got that first one, then the second one came, and the third. And so my goal is to get a 45. I want to do 45 for 3 or 5, depending.
Wow.
That's one of my goals. And then my deadlift back up to 2 times my body weight. I think that would be like my physical goals.
Amazing.
In that. And then I have just outside goals are get my head right so I can go and enjoy dinner with my friends and not worry about everything I'm ordering. Work on that healthy lifestyle, and then maybe take some cooking classes so I can go vegan or at least vegetarian.
Oh, wow.
I think that would be another big thing for me, so I can learn how to make things tasty and use these ingredients that I probably have never used. I was a vegetarian for 2 years back when I was 27, but it was a lot of the processed stuff, it was a lot of stuff from the freezers and that had all the stuff in it and sodium. So it wasn't a healthy way to do it. I want to do it with fresh vegetables and fruits and more of that. So that's another one of mine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Melanie, it's been amazing hearing your story and seeing how your transformation journey has evolved in the last 6 to 8 months. I'm excited to see how the next 12 months go and how you start moving through this next phase of mental transformation now.
Yeah.
And experiencing new heights in your life.
Yeah, of course. And just to note, everybody, that my transformation happened like 4.5 months. So
on the way to the checkpoint.
So everybody get on it to checkpoint. Yeah. So you can do it. I'm excited. Okay, that's all.